Now let's go back to the Sun Belt. We went Sun Belt, Mountain West Sun Belt. Let's go back to the Sun Belt. James Madison. They lose Kurt Signetti, which is a big loss because you also lost a ton of talent to the transfer portal, NFL draft, etc. Okay. But you bring in a guy by the name of Bob Chesney from Holy Cross, which a lot of people's initial reaction, what I think was confusion. Like like James Madison's like this gigantic job. James Madison is a very, very good job. Okay. It is a very good job. But also it's very new to the FBS levels. Its success is it's an outlier, right? You don't see a lot of teams like that. Boise State's one of those exceptions. JMU is one of those exceptions where you introduce them to the FBS levels and they succeed right away. That was pretty crazy to me, and I think it was crazy to a lot of people as well. Bob Chesney, though, who is Bob Chesney? Where has he been? Was at Holy Cross most recently as their head coach. Okay, went to the college football playoffs five out of the last, or sorry, first place in their conference 5 out of the last 6 years. Before that, Holy Cross had a winning record only 1 out of 6 years, a losing record 5 out of those 6 previous years. So the turnaround there was pretty massive. At Assumption, when you hear former players talk about Bob Chesney too in like interviews and stuff, like or on Twitter or whatnot, they love him. There's a player that I remember from an interview talking about Bob Chesney and his time at Assumption that Bob Chesney came in for that last year of that kid's career at that program, and they were a losing program at Assumption, and he turned it around immediately with a very business-like, uh, hard-nosed, just detail-oriented approach, and they got it done, and they immediately turned around to a winning program. At Salve Regina, he also had a winning program there. He's just been successful everywhere he's gone, and it hasn't mattered where he's gone yet, right? Now, the FBS is a completely different ballgame. The Sun Belt is not an easy conference to coach in at all. It's going to be certainly a challenge, and he might not get it done year one the way that you think he does, right? But he didn't get it done year one at Holy Cross. I think Holy Cross, that was his only losing season. He went 5-6, and after that, he won 5 straight conference titles and took his team to 3 college football playoffs. So I personally like the Chesney hire. I said it. What about you?
No, I love it too. I think to capitalize on the success and the lightning that you caught in a bottle with Kirk Signetti found his way to a massive pay increase to Indiana. But guess what? You get that buyout, as we mentioned earlier in the videos, right? You get $1.2 million to spend on your football program, to spend on this hire, to spend on recruiting staff, recruiting pool or recruiting budget and assistant coaching pool and all of the good stuff that needs a program to thrive and that Bob Chesney understands. And that's part of the reason why he probably took the job as well. He's won everywhere he's been. Like you said, he's 46 years old. Kirk Cincinnati had James Madison humming. The problem is in this day and age with the transfer portal, it is very hard to replace a coach like that with a lot of people heading all over the place. Jordan McLeod, we don't know where he's going to end up. Maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. I'm sure Bob Chesney would love to have him back, but there's a lot of options there for James Madison. They're done with their bowl ban now. So starting next year, I believe they're immediately eligible to play in the postseason and the Sun Belt Conference Championships and all that good stuff. It just sounds like such a great fit. But it's also like there's a lot of change happening at the top of the Sun Belt, right? The two best teams in the Sun Belt this year were probably Troy and James Madison. Both those teams are changing new coaches. Right. That's a big deal for this. And I think Bob Chesney is good.
Powerhouse Lou Monroe's also changing their coach.
That's true. That's true for a different reason, but nonetheless, they are changing their head coach. I think Bob Chesney is the guy that really gets me excited in the Sun Belt more than just about anybody. Now, here's the deal. Like, unfortunately, the reality situation is like, if you hit on him again, which you hope you do, obviously, James Madison, the problem is in a couple years, 4 to 5 years, he will probably be gone to another program, just like Kirk Signetti did. But that's just the reality of it. But it's also
That's the game.
it's a good problem to have. If you continue to hit on these coaches and continue to be at where you're at. We talked about it with Willie Fritz. We talked about it with John Summerall at Troy now, like or at Tulane now. Like that's what you want. You want him in a couple years to have to take a promotion because he's doing so well, right? That's a good thing. It's a good problem to have, and you can just keep churning out the successful pattern you've had, just like Boise State's done, right? Repeating the success over coaches, over coach, over coach, over coach, and how Troy's kind of got done too with Neil Brown and John Summerall. So we'll see here. We'll see here. But I do love it. That's a 5-year deal. The actual salary is not public yet, but I assume it'll be somewhere a little bit more than what Bob Chesney made, which is about 400K, 500K.
You mean?
Sorry, Kirk Cincinnati, 400K, 500K ish.
Which is low, like
Pretty low,
very
very low
low,
in the
very
Sun
low.
Belt. it's a little bit higher than ULM, but I'm sure Chesney will get a nice little increase. And here's the deal: like JMU is a program that was in the was in the FCS and now in the FBS. So now they have FBS money and
Hey,
resources.
and the Sun Belt had 12 teams go to bowl games.
A lot of money to be spread
A
around all over
lot
the
of
conference.
money to be spread
And
around.
part of that's due to James Madison, and they're lucky for the NCAA that they're bowl ban as well. So we'll see. We'll see. I do love the direction James Madison is humming going in. I think they can continue to compete under Bob Chesney. He's a guy that was so hot, coaching carousels and coaching rumors. Like he was a guy that's like, okay, who's gonna get Bob Chesney? Like from the FBS ranks, like where's he gonna end up? He's gonna end up at Syracuse. Like that was a real deal, a Power
Yeah.
Five job, a legit Power Five job. Boston College, if that opened up early in the season, people were talking about it. If that opened up, so you can end up there. He's six on the East Coast with James Madison, and they're lucky to have him, I think.
I agree. And one thing that I'll say too, like when you have a coach, right, that gets a promotion, right? I'll say promotion, success, whatever it is, when they're doing well, okay, and you have former player. Remember, former players are not obligated to say or do anything to their former coaches. They don't have to say anything. But when you have a slew of former players come out in just overwhelming support, you have got players taking interviews saying he was amazing. He turned around this program. He made me the man who I was today. Like that's the kind of stuff that you're looking for, and I think it's very, very, very valuable. So I'm all over it, man. I am all over this hire. Let's go Dukes. Let's go Bob Chesney. Let's go James Madison. It might, like we said, it might not happen year one. Boo hoo. All right. Bob Chesney is here to build a program, right? He built programs at Holy Cross. He built a program at Assumption. He built a program at Salve Regina. He's here to build programs, right? He's not here to coach football. He's here to build programs. So I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, in the short term, you got a bunch of players that are pretty dynamic that from Holy Cross that were looking to jump up to the FBS level and enter the portal. I believe there's about four of them that could really make that jump there and follow Bob Chesney over to him. Headliners would be Matthew Sluka at quarterback,
Stud.
obviously. Yeah, very dynamic player. Oh,
You saw him play against Boston College. Gave Boston College a scare this year.
Arkansas, BYU, Duke, Cal, everyone in that Power Five and that kind of level really wanted a guy like him. He's a baller as well, and some other guys on defense and on the O line. So we'll see what he does here. I think it'll be. I don't know if it's a total rebuild here, but there's a lot to be done.
There's a lot of missing pieces.
A lot of moving parts as well. But if anyone can do it, we saw the immediate success he's had at other places. I think he does it here as well. What's the expectation at James Madison?
See that, and that's such a difficult question because they've only been in the FBS for 2 years, right?
Not much sample size.
Not much sample size. Both years they went 6-2, 7-1 in the Sun Belt. So it's like they can win ball games. They can compete. The expectation, I think, is to compete for Sun Belt championships every once in a while and, win 8 games, win 9 games. I think that's actually the expectation of James Madison kind of going into this thing. Like, and should that be? Is that fair to a program that's only been in the FBS for 2 years? I don't know that that's fair, but I think that's the expectation that we're walking in with this, and I think a lot of other people are walking into this as well. So for this hire, I give it a B plus for sure. I think if we talk about grades, we'll reiterate this: B, meeting expectations; A, exceeding expectations; C, not meeting expectations. I think Bob Chesney will definitely meet expectations with a chance of exceeding them. So I'll give it a B plus. I really like this hire. B plus is a great grade for me. A B is a good grade for me. Come on, guys. So for any haters out there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go a step higher than you. I'm gonna go an A, just a flat A. I am super high on Bob Chesney and what he can do here. And the best part about Kirk Signetti, what he did was, and it was so impressive, is his staff, with all his connections all throughout college football, was so good, so elite. You saw him bring a ton of them to Indiana. Obviously, JMU has to replace him and the rest of his staff, but he's done a good job, Bob Chesney, in bringing some guys from Holy Cross that he trusts and understands him and that knows exactly what he needs for in his program. You're bringing in a couple guys from Duke, a couple guys from Old Dominion, keeping a couple guys on James Madison's staff from the holdover from Kirk Signetti. It's a nice little like Band-Aid that you put on this program and then eventually get it humming in the Sun Belt. With all the moving pieces, with Troy, yada, 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 everyone else there, App State, Coastal Carolina, there's a ton of good programs in the Sun Belt. I think they're going to be one of the teams at the top every year competing for it. And eventually, how about this? You think it's a realistic possibility Bob Chesney and James Madison makes the college football playoffs in the next 5 years?
Well,
you don't say they will, but it's a realistic possibility.
I'm gonna say the odds are like plus 2,500, and I would not take those odds, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd not take that at all.
Regardless, though, I think
Actually,
they'll be in
no,
that
2,500.
conversation.
In the next 5 years, I guess that's pretty fair. I don't know. Well, based on their success, I think that's still very expensive. Like meaning like you're not getting good value probably, but that's probably what it would be at, I guess, because people are really high. That's probably what Vegas would set it at, just because people are high on James Madison, they know the name.
Here's the
But
deal: if they had
it's probably
Boise
more than
State's
that.
uniforms this year, they would have been ranked in the top 15, absolutely, and absolutely competing for that 12th, that at-large bid for the group of five powers at play. You got to beat out Tulane. You got to beat out other players in your conference: Boise State, Liberty, Air Force. But Liberty also in the CUSA is very tough to take seriously on a national level because of their lack of competition in that conference. So I think they have a real shot here. That's their goal. I believe that's Bob Chesney's goal. I'm sure he said it when he got hired. That's what they want to do, and to give them a shot at the big boys once they get their chance.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him get settled in before I start talking the CFP for this guy. But I think this is a great hire.